Slowly, Jesus followed his tormentors out of the Antonia fortress, stumbling under the weight of the wood he was forced to carry. Since it was a feast day, there were only a few people about. Most worshippers were going in the opposite direction, towards the temple. On this day, the second day of unleavened bread, pilgrims from all of the farming regions, including Galilee, were expected to place a sheaf of freshly cut barley on the temple altar in homage to God. Most of the people on the street, therefore, were women and servants, carrying pitchers of water from public cisterns and fountains. The cross that Jesus bore was not a true full-size cross. Any apparatus large and strong enough to suspend a man above ground would have been much too heavy for any individual, let alone a man weakened by scourging. More to the point, wood was very scarce in Judea and therefore very expensive. As a result, the Romans had equipped their execution zone with a series of permanent upright stakes, or stipes. This meant that the condemned would only have to carry the crossbeam, known as the patibulum, but such a beam would still weigh between 70 and 80 pounds. A short time thereafter, the exhausted victims arrived at the place of execution, known as Golgotha in Aramaic and Calvaria or Calvary in Latin. It meant, appropriately, the place of the skull. Here, the condemned men were subjected to one last indignity. They were stripped in open defiance of the modesty so prized by Jews. Naked, Jesus was forced to lie down on the ground, while his arms were quickly bound to the crossbeam with henna rope. With the prisoner thus immobilized, the Roman specialists, known as immunes, could get to work. One of them produced a set of iron nails. Now, Roman nails were much longer than the average modern nail, some 6 inches in length, but immensely strong, with a square shaft some 3/8 of an inch in width. The executioner then pulled a large mallet from his bag and carefully positioned his nail above Jesus' left forearm near the radius. A tiny prick, just enough to draw blood and mark the spot. And then the Roman raised his mallet and brought it down on the nail with all his strength, driving it through the median nerve and causing massive damage. The wave of pain would have been instant and overwhelming. Like any other man, Jesus probably screamed in agony, to the amusement of the Roman immunes who were expecting it. Then the executioner got up, brushed the dirt off his knees, and leisurely made his way to the opposite side, there to repeat the procedure with the right forearm of Jesus. With both of the prisoner's arms now nailed to the crossbeam, the soldiers then removed the henna rope to ensure that the full weight of the condemned would be brought to bear on the nails. Finally, 2 burly soldiers picked up the beam with Jesus attached and, using ropes or a ladder, raised it over one of the upright stakes, slamming it onto the notch on top. Jesus was now suspended from a cross in the shape of a capital T, known as a Tau cross. There remained only one more task, the feet. One soldier turned the ankles of Jesus sideways and pushed them in a small wooden block shaped in the form of a U. This block was affixed to the bottom of the upright stake by driving a long nail through both of his heels and the block ending in the wooden post. This position also pressed the legs together and bent them so that Jesus seemed to be kneeling sideways. With this last step, the crucifixion was finished and the long agony of the victim could begin. Suspended in this posture, hanging by one's forearms, it is very difficult to breathe. To take a breath, the condemned must lift himself up. By lifting himself up, he puts great strain on his nailed arms and feet, thus bringing on fresh waves of pain. The torment of crucifixion is therefore largely self-inflicted. The victim must choose between suffocating or taking a breath while suffering unimaginable pain. The human impulse for survival is such that it will force him to choose the latter, to breathe, and to do so over and over again, minute after minute, hour after hour. While Jesus suffered on the cross, the Gospels tell us, the Romans settled on the ground to cast lots over the garments of the condemned. This is true. These soldiers were foreign auxiliaries who received a salary of only 225 denarii per year, just about $1,000 or $2,000, less deductions for food and arms, so any chance of winning loot was eagerly sought. One of the soldiers then posted a sign over the cross of Jesus to complete the propaganda aspect of the exercise. It read, mockingly, "The King of the Jews." For 5 long hours, Jesus struggled on the cross while the sun slowly tracked across the killing field. Each breath he took seared his body with pain, and yet the will to breathe was too strong. It forced him to lift himself up on his ruined arms and feet time and time again. Before long, the crickets in the olive trees began their afternoon song, offering a measure of relief from the sobs and moans emerging from the wooden stakes. Then suddenly Jesus cried out, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani." In his final cry of despair, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Jesus invoked Psalm 22, as Jews often did in moments of great peril. The apostles, his loyal followers, were nowhere to be seen. Many had already fled the city. Only the women remained. Among them, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James the Younger, possibly Mary, the mother of Jesus, and a woman named Salome. The Gospel of John also places the beloved disciple at the cross. And then Jesus sagged against the nails that held him. He no longer had the strength to force air into his lungs. The young rabbi from Nazareth died of asphyxiation, compounded by shock and loss of blood, shortly after the 9th hour, at approximately 3:10 in the afternoon.